You say one word, walk, and your dog's head snaps sideways into that perfect, adorable tilt. Every dog owner has seen it 1,000 times. And here's the strange part. Scientists only started seriously studying why dogs do this within the last few years. Which means for most of the time humans and dogs have lived together, nobody actually knew the answer. Let's start with the most obvious explanation. Dogs have ears that move independently. And researchers have long known that tilting the head helps an animal pinpoint exactly where a sound is coming from. Adjusting the angle to better triangulate the source using the tiny timing differences between each ear. This makes sense for wolves and wild canines listening for prey rustling in grass. But here's the problem with that explanation alone. Dogs tilt their heads most dramatically when listening to their owners talk, in situations with no ambiguous sound location to solve at all. You're standing right in front of them. There's nothing to triangulate, so something else has to be going on. This is where things get genuinely fascinating. In 2021, a team of researchers led by scientist Andrea Sommese at Eötvös Loránd University in Hungary published a study specifically investigating head tilting, and what they found changed how scientists think about this behavior entirely. The researchers worked with dog owners who described their pets as unusually skilled at learning object names, dogs capable of correctly retrieving specific name toys among dozens of similar-looking options. And they discovered something remarkable. These gifted word learner dogs tilted their heads significantly more often than typical dogs when hearing familiar, meaningful words. Think about what that suggests. If head tilting were purely about locating sound, there'd be no reason for dogs skilled at understanding language to do it more than dogs who aren't. But if head tilting is connected somehow to processing and recognizing meaningful information, then it starts to make a lot more sense why the smartest word learners in the study tilted their heads the most. Researchers have proposed a fascinating theory to explain this. The position of a dog's snout might actually interfere with certain aspects of vision. A dog's long nose partially blocks the lower portion of their visual field. And tilting the head to one side may shift the snout out of the way, allowing dogs to see your face, particularly your mouth and eyes, more clearly. Reading facial expressions and lip movement might genuinely help dogs process what you're saying, especially with words they've learned matter. There's another layer to this involving the specific structure of a dog's inner ear. Veterinary researchers have found that dogs have significantly more sensitive hearing than humans, capable of detecting a much wider range of frequencies. And tilting the head appears to help fine-tune exactly how sound waves reach the eardrum, potentially sharpening a dog's ability to distinguish subtle differences between similar-sounding words. The difference, for instance, between sit and spit, which honestly sound nearly identical if you're a dog without the benefit of context. And here's a detail that should genuinely surprise you. Multiple veterinary behaviorists have observed that head tilting appears to increase specifically around emotionally significant words. The kind of words dogs have learned really matter. Treat, walk, vet, their own name rather than random unfamiliar sounds. This suggests the behavior isn't purely mechanical. It might be tied to genuine engagement, an outward sign that a dog's brain has recognized something worth paying close attention to. Some researchers have gone even further, suggesting head tilting might serve a secondary social function entirely separate from hearing or vision. Dogs are remarkably attuned to human facial expressions and body language, arguably more so than any other domesticated species on Earth, having evolved alongside humans for somewhere between 15 and 40,000 years, depending on which genetic studies you trust. A head tilt might partly function as a social signal too, an expression that unconsciously communicates attentiveness back to the human doing the talking, which, evolutionarily speaking, would have been a genuinely useful trait for a species whose survival increasingly depended on successfully cooperating with us. And that theory gets support from an unexpected place, us. Studies on human perception have found that people consistently rate a tilted head dog as more engaged, more attentive, and let's be honest, more irresistibly appealing than a dog with a straight, level head. Whether or not dogs consciously understand this effect, a head tilt that makes humans respond more warmly and pay closer attention would have been reinforced repeatedly. across thousands of generations of dogs living alongside people who reward attentive, engaging behavior with affection, treats, and continued companionship. So, after all this research, what's the honest answer? It's probably not one single explanation. It's likely some combination of improved sound localization, better visibility of your face and mouth, sharper processing of meaningful words specifically, and a social signal that happens to make humans fall in love with them just a little bit more every single time. Which means that ridiculously endearing head tilt your dog gives you every time you talk isn't just cute. It's probably your dog's brain working overtime, trying to see you more clearly, hear you more precisely, and figure out exactly what you mean. Layered together with millennia of evolution that happened to reward the exact behavior that makes your heart melt on command. So, the next time your dog tilts its head at you, just remember, they're not just being adorable. They're working hard to understand you. And honestly, given how well it's working on you right now, evolution clearly knew exactly what it was doing. Does your dog tilt its head at specific words? Which one gets the biggest reaction? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear about it. And subscribe, because next time we're asking, what if the sun went out for one single day? See you then.